Okay, literally, this is take 4 of this video. This short little video, this is my 4th attempt. I 3 today and 1 yesterday that the audio didn't work for. So, let's do this. This time, it wasn't the audio that died, it was the battery that died. Okay, there you go. Anyway, let's get to the heart of the matter. So, we're dealing with the second essay in this publication, A Confession and Other Religious Writings, and it's what is religion and of what does its essence consist? And as I was just saying before I was cut off, is that Tolstoy fits into the pacifistic, liberal Christian, probably social gospel category of late 19th century, early 20th century religious agglomerations. And he's best known as a pacifist. He influenced Gandhi. He influenced Martin Luther King Jr. Um, a lot of people, well, a lot of people don't really care for his position on things, on religion and so on, because he was, oh, well, he condemned, well, obviously as a pacifist, he condemned war. He condemned the church for its connection to the state, which is connected to war. He's vegetarian, anti-sex, for the same reasons. They're all non-pacific activities. But let's look a little closer right now at his examination. If you could sum up Tolstoy's religious doctrine, you'd say basically, well, he doesn't have a religious doctrine, he has a moral doctrine. And even though I messed up yesterday's video, it did give me a chance to re-examine my notes, reread my notes today, so as to come at a slightly different perspective, maybe. And so his best definition of what his teaching on religion is could be found in this second or third last paragraph. And I'll put it up on the video when I go to edit it. Religion is not a belief established once and for all certain supernatural events that are supposed to have taken. Sorry, let me read that again. Religion is not a belief established once and for all in certain supernatural events that are supposed to have taken place at a particular time, nor is it a belief in the necessity of certain prayers and rituals, nor, as the scientists think, is it a survival of the superstitions of ancient ignorance, which have no meaning or relevance to life today. Religion is the relationship established between man, everlasting life, and God in conformity with reason and contemporary knowledge, and which alone pushes humanity forward to its destined aim. That's a lot of words, and and kind of not really very informative in some ways. He says that religion is about the sonship of people, or I should say the brotherhood of people, under God. God, everyone's a child of God, and everyone's a brother of each other. And it is an awareness, he says, of one's position in the world, that one is a brother to humanity and a child of God, and that our religious duty is something that emerges from our consciousness of that, right? Our consciousness, our awareness of what life is. And so he says that if we are living a natural life, so by that he means not a parasitic life, so a life of the wealthy and so on that live off the work of other people. If you're living a normal, good life, and he has in mind Russian peasantry, if you're living such a life, you will, by very fact, have a right understanding of yourself in relationship to your neighbor and to God, and that relationship is a relationship of love, where the teachings of Jesus on the Sermon on the Mount and the Beatitudes and so on are the best articulations of those things. Now, he calls himself a Christian, and he doesn't mean that he believes in any of the uh, Christian doctrines. He has no use for anything supernatural. So the divinity of Christ, he doesn't. He says these are distractions that keep us away from our primary focus and the primary fact that we are brothers and children of God, and that, as I said, religion as a coherent full structure is a commitment to things that aren't necessary. And he says that all these other things, these doctrines, these religious practices, these certain prayers, and so on, are distractions from the primary command or the primary vocation of everybody to love neighbor, right? So it's kind of religion without a religion. He doesn't say that. He doesn't signal in the thing I just read for you. He says he doesn't say prayers are useless, but he says certain prescribed prayers. Pardon me. Uh, and I suppose in the future I could talk about his story of the three hermits, as a great illustration of his doctrine. His doctrine is really simply love your neighbor, basically, and that consciousness is faith. So it's not faith as dependence on God's power. He has no doctrine of grace. He doesn't talk about the afterlife. In fact, he says that any concern with the afterlife and so on is a distraction from your vocation in the here and now. So he basically says that all human beings in this day and age should be aware that the world, humanity is a brotherhood. And if you're not aware of that, it's because um, you're living life in an unnatural way, like a parasite, or you're distracted by false religious notions that distract you from the basic self-evident truth that anybody who's living a normal, good life, productive, happy, healthy, communitarian existence is rather obvious to everybody. Um, so Tolstoy's doctrine is love of neighbor without really kind of God being other than just this rationale for why you should love your neighbor. And I think one of the interesting things about his doctrine is, as I said in that paragraph I just read, uh, is that we understand these things according to our knowledge at the time. So it's not necessarily a progressive thing. So it's not that humanity is becoming better and better. It's that basically the life of the Jews in the Old Testament was fine at the time. The life of the Buddhists at the time was fine. But given the scientific progress of people and so on, um, it would be incorrect and erroneous faith to believe in like superstitious doctrines or supernatural doctrines and so on. That I guess the good part of this is that he believes that humanity doesn't outgrow religion because God will always be necessary for people. The higher meaning will always be necessary for people. So he's not saying that because we've been educated outside of superstition that would be educated beyond um, anything about religion. He says, no, the essence of religion is love of neighbor, and our consciousness of the deeper meaning or deeper reality of life is necessary for every human being. You know, himself, he lived for a long time in a way as an atheist, more or less, and he in his late 50s he became very depressed and because he didn't know that life had any meaning and so on. And he was able to realize that there has to be there has to be meaning because otherwise life is unbearable. And he noticed that for most people, like the peasant class and so on, they seem perfectly happy and so on, and they have meaning, they have purpose in their consciousness, in their religious consciousness, right? So there you go. So it's kind of interesting, but it's just one snippet of Tolstoy's religious writings, because most of his religious writings are basically not positive doctrines in a way. They're criticisms of established Christianity, especially Russian Orthodoxy, which is united with the crown, which engages in warfare and all that stuff, and preserves the inequality between people, the suppression of the peasant class by the wealthy, and so on. So most of his religious writings are against church Christianity, as he calls it, or as Kierkegaard would call it. So there you go. Short little essay, but certainly not his final word. He writes a lot about religion, but a lot of it is, as I would call it, iconoclastic. So basically, attacking church Christianity and having this sort of, you could call it a sort of spiritual doctrine, but it's not really spiritual at all because he doesn't believe in anything supernatural. So there you have it, just a taste. And hopefully this video came through because I'm getting sick of trying to make it. Okay, thanks guys. Hopefully be back really soon with another video. Bye. Thank you.